The battle to be Devin Dampier's backup quarterback rages on up on the hill, but I believe Isaac Wilson and Nate Johnson will play key roles for the Utah Utes this fall.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If it's your first time tuning into this show, make sure you like and subscribe. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year when you go to monarchmoney.com. And use that code Locked On College, all caps. My name is JG Wistrcill, and on today's show, we are going to be talking to Locked On College Football Spencer McLaughlin in a bit. Talk about if Devin Dampier is a top 10 quarterback in the country. Where is Utah going to land in the Big 12 title race? And I believe it sets up very favorably, as well as just talk about, hey, what questions does the national media kind of have for a Utah team that is trying to bounce back from a 5-7 season, but feels very well equipped to do that. So, but before we get into all that, I want to talk about the backup quarterback battle, which is something that Kyle Whittingham was asked about after the scrimmage, because he was hoping to get some more clarity on it following last weekend's scrimmage. He said, when asked about the backup battle, that it's still a tight race. He said both Isaac Wilson, who is, of course, last year's Utah's starting quarterback after injuries, he won the backup job, but did not perform great in Andy Ludwig's offense. And after that, Mike Pajakian's offense when he took over. And then Burt Ficklin, true freshman, who's here in spring ball and trying to spring onto the scene and do some things for this Utah team. So he was asked how those two guys did. He said both did some good things and made mistakes, at least through the next and final scrimmage. He feels like they will be able to make a decision shortly after that. And he was asked about each guy and what they kind of bring to the team. He said Isaac has the experience, and that has and will continue to help him. They are not sure how Bird will react in game situations, but Bird is mature and doesn't flinch at all. When I hear that quote in particular, I feel confident when I say Isaac Wilson seems likely to be this team's backup quarterback. That is strictly going off that quote. But what does Kyle Whittingham value over everything? Like not turning the ball over and game experience. And when you're more experienced, you're just more likely to do better. That's just a matter of fact in life. Anytime you've done something more than someone else at a higher level, you're more than likely better than them at it another year. And yes, Bird is very close with Isaac, right? Like that has to matter. But I feel like we also made this mistake last year with our quarterback room, where Utah determined their backup quarterback should be Isaac Wilson, when it seemed like in the game action that we saw that Brandon Rose is actually the best guy for the job. Isaac performed better in practice. But if there is one position on a football team that least simulates in practice what it's like during a game, it's quarterback, because of how important the position of quarterback is. Quarterbacks don't get hit in practice. So yes, they'll be under pressure and like have to, the play will be blown dead and things of that nature, but they're never hit. And there's an age-old saying, right? Like everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. We've seen that happen with quarterbacks before, where they look really good in 7-on-7 or flag football, whatever it would may be, like, and even high school, right? But when they get to the collegiate level, and especially when they're on a level where you're just there's some grown men on that other side, and they can hit you and beat you up in like just a football term of just like knocking you down and roughing you up, then we see guys not play as well because they don't handle that pressure well, because no one wants to get hit and beat up. So Isaac Wilson, being a true freshman, struggled with the speed of football, because in practice, where he excelled at least to me, I'm imagining, he was really good with the speed that everything was happening and the rate that it was happening at. But then all of a sudden it was like, oh, hey, now you're going to get hit and defenses are doing these different things, and the game was too fast for him last year. And Isaac Wilson and Burt Ficklin are different players. Isaac last year, as you mentioned, had the starting experience, but Isaac also was a higher rated prospect. Bird was the 53rd best quarterback in his class, but he was still not a star quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, right? So he's a really good player coming out of Oklahoma, and I think he has a bright future with this Utah team, but I don't like throwing true freshmen out there. Last year, it should have been Brandon Rose because he has more of that experience. He performed better in the games. I believe this year, it should be Isaac Wilson because he has that experience. And I believe that's who it will be because of what Kyle Whittingham mentioned. That experience is everything. Isaac was not very good last year, right? 11 interceptions, just 10 touchdowns. He had the 121st QBR in the country. I'm not like ride or die with QBR, but whenever you're that low, that's saying something. But he still threw for 1,500 yards as a true freshman in college football. It's also not act like we see players make massive leaps their freshman to sophomore seasons. Think Spencer Fano and the leap that he was able to make freshman to sophomore. Freshman year, he was rotating in and out at times at left tackle because he just wasn't doing great there. Last year, he's arguably the best tackle in like college football. He graded out that highly. So to me, this is a situation where you should give it to Isaac. He has the experience. Yes, it wasn't always great last year, but I trust him more under pressure in those live game situations. He is learning a new offense. But if between these two backup quarterbacks, based on what Kyle Whittingham has said, and we're led to believe, it sounds to me like Isaac Wilson is going to win the backup job. But should he be the guy that Utah trots out there if something happens to Devin Dampier? I believe it should be Nate Johnson. And I've said this a lot. Nate Johnson is listed as an athlete on Utah's roster. We know he made several plays during spring ball. Nate Johnson has had more success at Utah, or him and Isaac are close, right? Playing quarterback than anyone else on this roster. Like I said, him and Isaac are very neck and neck. And for those of you who'd be like, oh, that's not accurate with Nate. Well, Bryson Barnes was clearly better than Nate, right? But like, I didn't see last year watch Isaac Wilson play like, oh yeah, he's clearly better than what Nate Johnson brought to this team. Nate Johnson is an incredible athlete, least we forget. He's a guy who put SEC defenders on skates when Utah played Florida. Like, he is a mismatch nightmare. And I do believe with his legs behind this offensive line, the results could be devastating. Maybe it's too heavy and too ground and pound, and you want a quarterback who can air it out a little bit more, but I feel like Nate Johnson will play a role in this offense, and I think it should be his own set of packages at QB potentially once or twice a game. You only want to take it out of Dampier's hands so much, but especially if Dampier gets hurt, I believe the best chance this team has to win is to put the ball in Nate Johnson's hands and really rely on a run-heavy system with a few passes incorporated in. Let's not forget, Nate was also, I believe, like a 4-star quarterback when he committed to Utah, where at the time we thought he was the future of Utah football, because during that 2022 Pac-12 title run, he looked absolutely special whenever he was given the opportunity to run. And even that year, he led Utah to win on the road against Baylor, right? So he is a guy with tremendous upside still. He was in a battle just last year with Diego Pavia. Pavia was one of the 30 best quarterbacks in the sport a season ago. So I'm just don't look at Nate Johnson and go like, yep, I'm giving up on you on helping a team win while playing the quarterback position. Nate was not going to be a guy who puts the team on his back at quarterback, but because of his legs and what a mismatch he can be, I do believe that Utah should look to him over an Isaac Wilson, who still looked rattled at times who obviously was rattled as his freshman year. And I still have questions about him versus Nate has a skill set that is Nate's ability to run, like with the ball in his hands, is why he's obviously part of the reason he's transferring to receiver, and just part of the reason he's going to see the field and has it everywhere he's gone is because of how fast he is. His speed, the ability in the speed department that he has is a higher ability in that category than any other Utah quarterback possesses, not named Devin Dampier, in any other category. Like, his speed is better than Isaac Wilson's accuracy. Isaac Wilson's probably a little bit more accurate than Nate, but I don't think it's a big enough difference to make up for what Nate can do on the ground. So all the reports have been that it's Isaac versus Bird, but if I was Utah, and Utah's kept it very quiet, whatever they're planning on doing with Nate Johnson this season, as I mentioned, he's listed as an athlete on the roster. He's not listed as a true receiver, just listed as an athlete. There's not many college football players that you see get that designation. So I believe that they should use Nate Johnson as the backup quarterback, and I believe he should play a role on this team with packages, even with Devin Dampier. We know a couple years ago it was Cam Rising, and they had the Jaquindon Jackson package. I think the Nate Johnson package could be the more successful version of that. And there's some crazy things you could do with like Wayshawn Parker, Nate, and Devin Dampier in the backfield. And I trust Jason Beck to maximize Nate Johnson and just get the best out of the backup quarterback spot. But I do believe Devin Dampier is going to have a miraculous season. I think Devin Dampier is so good. He's a top 10 quarterback in the country. Friend of the show, Locked On College Football, Spencer McLaughlin, joins me momentarily to debate just that. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. I mean, you can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Well, one thing I love about Monarch Money is it just makes it simple to review my finances with my partner as well, too. So we can both set budget goals and just make sure we're spending our money and putting it in the best places. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps and no spaces, at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps, no spaces. You can head over and use Monarch Money today. Excited to be joined now by Locked On College Football's Spencer McLaughlin, who thinks Utah is going to have a very good season. And if Utah is going to have that good season, they need Devin Dampier to be that guy at quarterback. Devin Dampier is a guy I believe can be a top 10 quarterback in college football this season. Spencer and I had this discussion last year in which I said Cam Rising would be. That didn't go so well, but I do believe that I didn't learn my lesson, Spencer. I'm right back, and I believe that Devin Dampier is going to land as one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football. Really quick for why I think that we can talk about if he will be in a moment, but I'll just really quick say why I think he can be. We'll talk about other names in a moment, but look, this is what I love about him, right? I think he's a guy who has 4,000 yards potential, right? When you look at 2,500 yards passing last year, 1,000 yards rushing a season ago, a dynamic threat at quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks last year in forced missed tackles, led the fourth best offense in the country on the yards per game basis. He seems primed to me to make the group of five to P4 jump behind that offensive line too, with just the jaw-dropping abilities. He had 31 total touchdowns a season ago. I know he had some interceptions, but this guy is one of the best watches in the sport. He's electric at the quarterback spot, and I think he's going to put the Big 12 and the country on notice this season. What do you like about Devin Dampier?
I like the fit with Utah. I'm curious, but I do like the fit because I think Utah's offense has the chance to look a lot like Georgia Tech's from a season ago. Georgia Tech, good team. Some people have them preseason power rated number 4 in the ACC and a top ACC championship dark horse contender. Some people have that.
Not college football.
Yeah, perhaps. And so I think when you look at what Georgia Tech did last year, they upset Florida State, send the Seminoles into a death spiral for their season. But, they were a good team, not a great team, but they were a good one. I mean, they darn near beat the SEC champions on their home field last week of the regular season. Took 8 overtimes, and they couldn't make it. They couldn't quite get there. But I think that, a passing game that is competent is all that's required here, because we know Utah loves to run the football, and they've run their quarterback, I think, situationally in the past. I wonder if that doesn't become a feature of this offense for Jason Beck, Utah's offensive coordinator, not to be confused with Jason Eck. So I think that the dynamic offensively is really interesting for how that can work, because Cam Rising, again, I think of Utah the last several years, and I can just picture in my head a couple of key scrambles, the quarterback power play on 3rd and 4th and short. That's a staple, right? I think with Devin Dampier, you might see quarterback sweep or, Y lead, read option, whatever, those sorts of concepts on 1st and 2nd down a lot, in addition to being good situationally. So, yeah, he does need to protect the football better. He's going up against better competition. I think that's a legitimate question to ask. But what excites me about him is, hey, I think that, if he's willing to put his body out there a little bit, or think about Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, same thing. Passing game, competent, capable. That's all that's needed. It doesn't have to be 280 and 3 touchdowns and taking downfield shots. Like, no, can you go for 200 yards and a touchdown, not turn the ball over? That's probably all you complete 65-ish% of your passes. That's all you need, I think, for this Utah offense. So that's what intrigues me the most.
Totally agree. And Kyle Whittingham hates turnovers. So I do think this Utah team is very much going to be run heavy. First,
a stark contrast of the coaches who love turnovers.
Yes,
college football.
I'm just like I will say with Kyle though, I've been to games where I'm like, why was Utah not throwing the ball? They are up 10-0 right now, but they need to score, and it'll be like, well, they don't trust a quarterback to put it in the air. Nate Johnson at the time, so it's like they're just going to have him run and run and run. So he does it almost to a fault at times, I think. But Dampier is a guy who I think will earn his trust. But Utah run heavy, especially with the 2 offensive tackles they have that arguably the best tackle duo in the country. But
is Nate Johnson still a wide receiver at Vanderbilt?
Nate Johnson is an athlete at the University of Utah right now. I actually just did my first segment on him and how I think he might actually end up.
Wait, he came back?
He came back, Spencer.
Oh my gosh.
I just did a segment on how I actually think if there was an injury to Dampier or something happened, they might use Nate Johnson a lot at QB just for the rushing abilities that he has. But I'm curious to see what his role is, because he's generally listed as an athlete, Spencer, on the roster. He's not listed as a receiver. He's listed as
I'm calling this right now. Watch for him to get snaps on special teams this year.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
You bookmark that.
Okay, I like it.
Any kind of special team situation. I'm just throwing that out there.
If he can return punts, like that'd be massive. They got some other guys.
No. I'm talking as like a gunner, a kickoff blocker. I mean, some like sicko spot.
Yeah.
Holder maybe for a fake field goal situation. Watch for that. As you can tell, I did not know that.
He's one of the fastest guys on the field, so I think they got to find a way to get him out there. But going back to best quarterbacks in the country, I think Devin Dampier will be one of the 10 best in college football. CBS Sports also put out a list, and they had him in there too. You're giving me discouraging looks again. That's what you did last year too. I watched that.
Hold on. Let me find CBS's list and see.
While you look that up, I'll read you off the names that I think should be above Devin Dampier. Obviously, Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, John Mateer. We'll just say his name for now. We don't need to say anything else about John Mateer. Drew Aller, Carson Beck, Lenore Sellers, Sam Levitt, Arch Manning, Devin Dampier in right there at 9 over Avery Johnson, Sawyer Robertson, DJ Lagway, a heck of a lot of other deserving options. But I think
is this the piece from April 9th, college football's top returning quarterbacks for 2025?
It is indeed.
Okay. Let me.
I know it says returning, but still.
Okay.
He's just going to be
Klubnik, Aller, Arch, Beck, Nussmeier, Robertson, nice pick, Altmaier, Sellers, Dampier at I'm
not alone on this one, Spencer.
You're not. Having him ahead of DJ Lagway is going to upset people in SEC country. But
I know I listened to this one podcast called Locked On College Football, and they told me Florida might go 7-5 this year. So I don't know how good
that's true. That's not necessarily a reflection of the talent at quarterback so much as the lack of talent at head coach.
Oh wow.
Yeah, hey, we're all acting like Billy Napier hasn't had several years to get it right, and that this will finally be the time.
He went well when he went out to Utah. Remember that?
Yeah, and
with Nate Johnson.
It's like you're Florida. You're Florida. Tell me why you shouldn't be expected to Kurt Signetti that program. Like, what are we talking about here? It's Florida. So anyway, I don't think I would even put him ahead of DJ Lagway. Lenora Sellers at 8 is way too low. Sawyer Robertson at 6 is way too high. Carson Beck at 4 is probably a little bit high. Not a lot, but a little. Like Nussmeier at 5 is way too low. Returning quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't. 10 best. I think the excitement with his athleticism, the potential is definitely there. Who was the last quarterback to come up from the group of 5 and be one of the 10 best at quarterback in all of college football?
Well, if we did like FCS, I could stretch to Cam Ward and do that thing. I would say last year.
Cam Ward had 2 years at Washington State before he went to Miami and became the number 1 pick.
That's a great point. I was thinking if we go back to last year, just for G5 QBs who became P4 and have success. I don't know where Curtis Rourke ended up from Indiana. I don't know if he's top 10 guy, right?
That would be the best. Really good, that would be the best example.
Yeah. So I think you get that too. But I feel like there has been other guys we've seen make this transition and have success. And especially when you look at a guy like a Devin Dampier, we have seen guys ascend up and be able to take over and make plays like that too. And there's just a level that I think Dampier is capable of getting because of that dual threat ability. I think has him a chance to elevate. Like a Luke Altmaier, he's really good, right? But I don't know if his ceiling is as high as Devin Dampier. The floor is higher. Floor is definitely higher. But I don't know if the ceiling is what Devin Dampier is when I look at that dynamic ability.
Yeah, I agree on the ceiling comparison with Altmaier, who also is in an offense that is not really prone to throwing the ball. Dylan Raiola is not on this list. Kind of surprised at that.
Really? You think he should be on there? They didn't make a bowl game.
At least deserves. They made a bowl game. They made a bowl game last year.
They did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he is a true freshman. Had them ranked in the top 25. Then they lost to Illinois, stumbled a bit down the stretch, but got to a bowl game, and that was an 8-year drought for Nebraska. He pulled that off as a true freshman. That's not nothing. You know, the difficult thing I run into is what are we judging as the 10 best quarterbacks? The quarterbacks who are going to have the 10 best stats this year, or the quarterbacks who just think, yeah, if I were starting a team, I'd have him there because
I
don't.
I go that.
Yeah, I don't think I would have Dampier in the top 10 because I think CBS's list has got a solid number of guys that, yeah, I wouldn't take today, right here, right now. Yeah. I wouldn't take Dampier confidently over them, and I do like Dylan Raiola. There are definitely a couple that I'm missing out there.
Jennings, but you got Hoover, Rocco Back.
Yeah, Kevin Jennings at SMU not on this list. That's a pretty egregious misfire. Jennings is good.
He had those 3 picks against Penn State. Like, I know he was really good last year too, but like he just didn't in that big game. He didn't
that's
show up.
True. Also, why Devin Dampier and not John Mateer?
John Mateer was 3rd for me. That's for this list, for the CBS one.
Yeah.
I'm high on Mateer, as we mentioned, as long as he's going to play.
No, I like, by the way, this is not shade at Devin Dampier, but if you're saying like, well, he's certainly in the top 10, I'm saying, well, I don't know that he's definitively at this point in time someone I'd put in my head over Dylan Raiola. I don't know what the big difference is. I think he and Mateer are kind of the same guy. Frankly, they were playing in the Mountain West.
I'll even say Mateer's numbers are more impressive.
They were more impressive last year. So I think you'd probably give him the benefit of the doubt there. He's not a returning quarterback to his program, but Malik Murphy is at Oregon State now, former Pac-12 foe, RIP. I'm a Malik Murphy fan. He was replaced at Duke by Darian Mensah, who was at Tulane. So
I think you have Dampier in the top 20?
Yes, he'd be in the top 20.
15?
The top. I'd have to think about it.
Gosh, we won Utah fans over with you last week too. You're so kind of
them. I know.
Which I shouldn't say. If Dampier's a top 15, like that's a huge compliment. I'm betting on upside, and you are far more likely to be right on this. But I'm a believer, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid that is Devin Dampier.
Hey, man, you're the host of Locked On Utes. Drink the Kool-Aid. That's the job. Bert Kreischer style. Just chug the Kool-Aid back.
Exactly. And as I mentioned, you were high on Utah as well last week. So I want to know, why do you believe, outside of just Devin Dampier, why do you believe Utah will bounce back this year?
Are we now taking a break, or are we just rolling straight through? Okay, straight through. Just wanted to make sure. I work at this network too, so I know how shows are structured. That's the point in time with a guest where I'm usually taking a break. A couple of reasons. Number one, the defense did not fall off, which has always been Utah's calling card. It has always been, this is a defense and run team, and Kyle Whittingham's really good in situational football. That's been what Utah has historically been. That wasn't actually missing last year. Those elements were not faulty. Close games were lost because of the quarterback situation. So it does come down to Devin Dampier. But frankly, Utah going 5-7 last year, massive disappointment, of course. I don't know what stat you're going to show me that doesn't come back to it being rooted in the quarterback position. So if that position is good, and I am bullish on Utah, you said it past tense, you were bullish on you. No. This is a present tense take. With Utah's schedule, I have them going 10-2 because I'm just that much of a sucker, apparently. But the reason I like Utah is I trust Kyle Whittingham. I like their roster, and I think their quarterback play is going to be improved. Nothing else. The quarterback is the only thing that has to change. Nothing else needs to change from last year. I didn't watch last season and think, oh, Kyle Whittingham has lost it. No, he lost his quarterback. He didn't have that situation where you would like it to be. If it is there this year, though, with the new OC, then guess what? I've got a lot of confidence, as Joel Klatt often says, death, taxes, and Utah football. And I think that is as sound of a reason as any to like a team in the Big 12, because this conference, again, I think you have 7 teams that can win the Big 12 this year. Legitimately, 7, maybe 8, but probably just 7. And that's a pretty awesome league to be a part of. And throw your dice at the craps table, man, and see if it comes up with the right combo to win you some money, or in this case, a Big 12 championship.
We're going to talk about the Big 12 as a whole in a moment. Speaking of Big 12 titles, you have Texas Tech over Utah right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why, what are your questions or reservations about this Utah team out? And maybe it is just quarterback that would lead you to say, because I think we both like Dampier more than what Tech has at that spot as we sit here right now too. So no, you like Brett Moore? You didn't mention him last segment.
I like Baron Morton.
Oh, you like Baron Morton? Okay.
Yeah.
So is that why you have to? Well,
yeah, that's another guy. That's another guy. That's another guy that you're right, should have been on the list. I'm trying to do that thing off the top of my head and cycle through the however many Power 4 teams there are and figure get them all in my head right now.
I mean, you are locked on college football. That's what you're paid to do. But
well, in a manner of speaking, So I do like Baron Morton, and I know what he is more than I know what Devin Dampier is. So that's factor number one. Factor number two, Texas Tech had probably the best offseason of anybody in the Big 12. They have the highest rated transfer portal class. Like they went out and it's not just, an Indiana play or Colorado where it's just straight volume. No, there's a caliber of recruit. Romello Height and David Bailey. I don't know who has a better edge tandem in the Big 12. I don't. Do I have all 16 of them memorized? No. Do I feel confident when I say that's the best tandem of edge rushers that exists in this league? I do. And I say that knowing Utah can coach anybody to be a great offensive or defensive lineman at any point in Kyle Whittingham's tenure. And I expect them to be good up front. But those two guys, Bailey is NFL caliber. Romello Height is a proven Power 4 player. Those two guys with Baron Morton and the rest of their transfer portal class, and let's not forget the fact, it's not like they were a bad team. They had an 8-4 regular season. Morton was hurt, didn't play in the bowl game. So that's an 8-4 team that went out and got substantively better with a bunch of key returners, continuity on its coaching staff and a quarterback. Yeah, there's plenty of reason to like my Texas Tech Red Raiders.
You're not saying my Utah Utes anymore. Oh, for pain. But we let you down last year, so we'll settle for second.
Yeah, you guys got to earn my trust back a little here. Like I'm on board, but before you become my boys again, my homies, you gotta do something on the field. Texas Tech just needed to do it on paper, man. Paper Big 12 champions. That's all I need from the Red Raiders.
And I like Tech a lot too, so I'm okay with calling them the paper champs right now. But speaking of just the Big 12 title game and all of this, and just this conference in general, Spencer, if Utah doesn't win the Big 12, like, can they get in? Do you see two Big 12 teams getting in the college football playoff this year? I think 11-1.
That depends on the team you're talking about. So let's take one example just off the top of my head. Baylor has a non-conference game with Auburn. Now, I don't think Auburn is that good. Let's say that I am wrong.
Like outside the top 10 in the SEC?
Yeah, I think Auburn is 6-6.
Okay.
So, like, fine team.
Mm-hmm. Don't lose.
Don't trust the coaching staff there. Let's say Baylor wins that game, and Auburn's better than I think, and they go 9-3, which I think is their best case scenario. So if they do that with their schedule, which isn't that hard, but has a couple notable games like Alabama, for instance, Georgia, if they can beat one of those teams and be inside the top 15, Baylor at 10-2, not in the Big 12 championship game, suddenly looks a lot more appealing. I don't think you're going to see a Big 12 team make the college football playoff this year that doesn't have a marquee non-conference win that doesn't just feel good in the moment, but holds up over time. Because last year BYU went 10-2, a road win against a playoff team in SMU, and they didn't get in the playoff. They didn't even have that much buzz. So I need to go through every single team's non-conference slate, but I don't know how many opportunities there are for those sorts of victories. TCU plays North Carolina. Well, I don't think North Carolina is good.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about Utah and UCLA, right? Like I don't.
Yeah, and like that's a plenty interesting game. Former Pac-12 foes, Nico's first game, and all of that. And I think Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley will put him in a blender for that particular matchup. But Does that give Utah enough for 10-2? No, because I don't think UCLA is a bowl team this year. So that's what's missing. You have to be. We've only got 1 year of data, but in all likelihood, you have to be an 11-win team in the Big 12 or the ACC if you're going to get in the playoff. So can they get 2 in? Yeah, if 2 teams go 11-1, they should be in. The playoff committee showed you last year they'll put them in. Who's doing that this year in this Big 12? I like Utah. I like Texas Tech. I like Kansas State. Do I see 11-1 out of them? A lot of things would have to go right there. So one of those things has to happen. You need to be 10-2 with a seriously legitimate, like Utah would need to beat UCLA, and then the Bruins go 10-2 and they're ranked in the top 20.
Oh gosh, that's asking a lot of Nico.
Yes, exactly. But again, like Arizona State won the Big 12 last year. Let's not put anything off the table. So if something like that happens, okay, I can see it. Other than that, other than those 2 scenarios, no, I think the Big 12 will be a 1-bid league.
It's the most likely option. And I'm just happy we're just a few weeks away from figuring all this out when the college football season gets underway. Spencer, if people want more college football content, where do they need to head over to?
Locked On College Football is Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday during the season on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. However you consume this show, you can consume that one. I'm on Twitter at smclaughlincfb, sending off all sorts of hot takes from my personal handle. And I host Locked On Ducks. If you want to find out about an old Pac-12 foe, RIP, I've got Oregon covered every single day. So that's how.
He stays busy. We appreciate making the time tonight. Thanks, Spencer.
No problem, JT.
That's going to do it for today's Locked On Utes. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the latest going on at Camp Cow.